guys, welcome back to another exciting. Hello guys, welcome back to another exciting episode on the show. Today's guest is Daniel Alfon, a LinkedIn expert, entrepreneur, author, and business growth strategist who has been helping entrepreneurs and podcast hosts turn LinkedIn into a tool for meaningful business success. Daniel joined LinkedIn way back in February 2004, long before the platform became the business networking giant it is today. French-born and Israeli-raised, Daniel brings a global perspective on networking, personal branding, and building professional relationships online. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Darlington, for having me on Control Be Controlled. I was looking forward to this.
All right, thank you so much. So, Daniel, you joined LinkedIn in February 2004 when the platform was still very, very new. Can you tell us what made you send up back then? I mean, for someone like me, I don't even know where I was 2004. I was still a child. And how have you seen LinkedIn evolve over the years?
Cool. So the short answer is someone I trusted sent me an invitation, and I said, if this serious person is on this platform, then I need to check it out. And the platform has indeed changed. LinkedIn has grown. It was used initially only for recruiting, and now it's also for business. And right now it has close to 1.5 billion users worldwide. And every second, Darlington, 3 people sign up. So it's a very growing platform. The single most dramatic change is not in the way LinkedIn runs, but the way the users are using it, if you'd like.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. So, before accepting a LinkedIn invitation, what questions should we ask ourselves, and why is intentional networking so important?
Cool. Can I ask you a stupid question, Darlington?
Go on.
When is your birthday?
When is my what?
Yes, your birthday.
August
August what?
19.
Okay. So I'll ask myself this question. If you sent me an invitation, come August 19th, are you important enough for me to stop my busy day, check you out, see how you've been, and speak or message you? Not just wish you a happy birthday, that's nice, but that's not what I meant. If you're active on LinkedIn, then I would go to check what happened with you since we last spoke. And if I'm not sure you're important enough for me to stop my busy day at least once a year, if not more than that, then maybe you and I should not be connected. The reason I'm saying this is that we have a limited bandwidth. Maybe my bandwidth is 20 people. Maybe, Darlington, your bandwidth is 2,000 people. But all of us have a limit. How do we employ our time is a very important question. We can basically not really be in touch with 1 billion people. It makes more sense to have a trusted network, and you can be very successful on LinkedIn with 35 connections whom you know well, because they would introduce you to your ideal client, or they would introduce you to a hiring manager looking for someone with your skill set. And you might be with 3,500 connections, and you will not be able to translate those virtual connections into revenues, into projects, into orders, into jobs. So ask yourself, am I here for the vanity metrics, or am I interested in growing as a person and in growing my business or my career?
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. So, some people believe having more followers automatically means more influence. I myself, I think I believe that about 60 to 70%. So, if someone says I have more followers than you, what would you tell them about the difference between audience size and business impact?
Excellent. So, as you said, my journey on LinkedIn started way in 2004. But what happened a couple of years later is that I fell. So I felt stuck. Everything I thought was collapsing. My large network did not equal success. And sharing more came with a very high price for me and very diminishing return. And more importantly, I felt I became someone else, a monster I did not recognize. When I looked around, I couldn't find any other way to do it. After a lot of thought, what I decided to be was to become myself on the platform. I started anew. I disconnected from the gazillion people I did not really know. I drastically capped the number of times I share. And this is what happens, Darlington. I got referred to new clients. My profitability increased, and I feel better. The journey, the reason it's hard is that most people advise you to grow your network. And the truth is, you don't necessarily have to grow your network. You have to cultivate your existing network. Even if you only went to school with 30 people, even if you only managed to keep in touch with 5 people, Darlington, those 5 people in 5 years' time, they will work for the company you would like to work with. What is better, to knock on their door in 2032 and say, hey, maybe you don't remember me, but we chatted and I sat next to you in English class? Or be there for them and message them and ask them how they've been, and don't be the person who only remembers you when they need someone from you, because we don't like that. If you see my name and you know every time I reach out to you is because I need something from you, then you'll not look forward to my messages. Try to be there for people when you don't need anything from them.
All right. Thank you so much. So many people talk about LinkedIn exposure and going viral, but you have said that exposure is overrated. Why is that the case?
Cool. So imagine you have 300 people and you know them well. You have 300 connections and you know them well. Say, Darlington, 2% of your network will see what you shared. Okay, so you share a new episode of Control will be controlled, and 2% see it. If you only have 300 connections, 2% out of 300 is 6 people. Now imagine you have 30,000 connections. Those same 2% become 600 people. 600 people is very nice. But what happened? If you started with 300 people you knew really well, and you kept hearing you need to grow your network, you don't have 500 plus, what will people think of you? And you listen to those voices, and you increase the size of your network tenfold. You now have 3,000 connections, and most of them, of course, you don't know. But Darlington, how many new people will see what you shared? Right now, you have 60, a grand total of 60. So you added 54 people, and it took you a year to grow your network. Exposure starts on LinkedIn when you have 30 or 35 or 40,000 followers. If you have 40K, then you have meaningful exposure. But if you have 5,000, you think you have exposure, you have nothing. You have gained marginal exposure, and on the other hand, you polluted or diluted the quality of your network. And next time your ideal client or your hiring manager looks at you and sees mutual connections and they ask them about you, instead of saying, hey, you need to speak with Darlington, they will ask this: Darlington who? You don't want to go that route. Either have 50K followers or stick to people you know well. Most people start with a network they know, but keep enlarging their network without ever reaching a significant amount. If you like it another way, ask yourself, would I rather be the most connected or the best connected?
Okay, thank you so much. I would rather be the best connected, obviously. So, many people believe success on LinkedIn requires constantly posting and sharing content. Is that true, or is there a better approach?
Cool. So for most people, it's not necessarily true. I won't say it in general, but for most people, it's not necessarily true. If I look at the clients I work with, in many times, what we did was basically analyze the way they behave and the content they share. And the reason they were sharing is that they thought it would work. But again, most people don't log in into LinkedIn every day. So few people will see what you shared. If it takes you a lot of time to think of topics or to use AI tools to become someone you're not, then it's not really relevant for you. What you want to do is make what you share count. The single most frequent action that LinkedIn users perform is not clicking and viewing your post. It's visiting people's profiles. Visiting people's profile is the number one activity on LinkedIn. So the person who wants to work with you does not ask themselves, what has Darlington shared? They ask themselves, is Darlington the solution to my problem? Yes or no? If you're not the solution, it doesn't matter what you shared. And if you are the solution, I don't care what you shared. The reason you share, if it's only because you want people to remember you, you're not doing a very good job. Most people will become blind to your content. Imagine you share an episode of Control Will Be Controlled every 12 hours. So the first time we'll say, wow, that looks interesting. What has Darlington? He started a podcast. Oh, and I see that he has Mistress Melisandre, and they're speaking about ethical consent. Let's check it out. And then 12 hours later, I will see that you share something about the surprising truth of about aging, etc., with Caroline Hedden. And this time I will say, okay, maybe I'll listen to it sometime. And the following day, I'll see you share another episode of Taking Control of Your Retirement with Ross Powell. And this time, I will become blind to what you shared. I will gradually disregard what you shared. I might unfollow you, and I might even disconnect. Why? Because you hijacked my feed. I see too much of your content. And most people don't want to see too much content on LinkedIn from one specific source. So you don't have to share more. You have to make what you share count. You're as good as the last time you shared. It doesn't matter if it was last week, or last month. Are you proud of what you shared on LinkedIn last time?
Thank you so much, Daniel. That was a wonderful answer. So, podcast hosts, like maybe I'll probably put myself as well. Most
Mhm.
of us, we often struggle with promoting our episode. What is the best way for a podcast host to share a new episode on LinkedIn? And why do so many hosts get it wrong? I think after this answer, depending on the answer, I'm going to add a LinkedIn profile on Podmatch and start promoting.
All right. All right. So here's the way I see things. Most people most podcast hosts will share and say, hey, check out episode number 23 with Jane Doe, and we discuss educational technology. This is written from the host's perspective. What I would advise you to do when you share a new episode, usually you would listen to it, maybe to edit it, or maybe to write the show notes or decide about the title. So when you listen to it, or even after this conversation, you ask yourself, is there a point there during our conversation that could be interesting to start with? Maybe 15 seconds. Darlington, maybe it's a question you asked and only the beginning of my answer. You want people to listen to this and to want to hear the rest of the conversation. So you basically identify an interesting aspect, a hook, maybe a quote, maybe something provocative, maybe a blooper, maybe a question you asked. And instead of saying, hey, check out episode 23, you ask, what is the single biggest mistake we make as entrepreneurs? And the surprising answer is and then you talk about your podcast and you talk about your guest. But instead of saying just check out my latest episode, we understand it's an episode at the end of the post because you asked an interesting question, a question you asked on the podcast itself, on the episode itself. And you don't provide the full answer. You provide a cliffhanger. You provide the beginning of the answer. It's important. It needs to be true to your episode. But you basically cherry pick one of the most interesting exchanges in the podcast, and you start your post with this. Instead of saying, hey, check out again, I'm here with a new episode. Make it more interesting, and the reader's perspective is not episode 23. The reader's perspective is what's interesting. Why should I why should I read this? And why should I leave LinkedIn, listen to the full episode?
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, I will definitely be taking some lessons from that. So, for someone starting from scratch on LinkedIn today, what are the first three things they should do to build a profile that creates business opportunities?
Cool. So the first question I would ask is, who's your ideal reader? If you're an entrepreneur, the ideal reader is usually your ideal client, your SCP. If you're a Gen Z graduate, then maybe your ideal reader is the hiring manager who could hire someone with your skill set. And then you ask yourself, what information can I provide this ideal reader? How do I write my profile so it answers their questions? And if you're an employee, you paste text from your CV. If you're an entrepreneur, you elaborate on the issue or the pain you're solving, and you try to use visual elements, a banner. It's free to use. You can use Canva to create something interesting. You featured links or media. You could feature an episode or the Apple link or the Spotify link to control or be controlled, and this will enrich your profile. It will make it more visually appealing, and it will make more people want to check you out, and then they can decide to reach out to you with a proposition.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. So, with AI making it easier to create content and potentially manipulate engagement, do you think artificial manipulation on LinkedIn will eventually become a thing of the past?
AI is the source of way too much post we see on LinkedIn. You notice it when you read it and it doesn't sound genuine and it doesn't sound like you at all. In fact, trust is way more important than content. Because if you and I can create content within a simple AI tool, within an hour, we could produce an amazing video. The question becomes, do I trust you? Because if I don't trust you, it doesn't matter how the content is. And if I trust you, then I'm likelier to try and work with you or hire you. And I don't think it makes sense for you to outsource your thinking to AI. You need to call the shots. You need to start writing what you want to share, your profile included. What you could use AI for is double check that and suggest ways to improve it. But you, Darlington, read the suggestion and you decide this is not right for me because you are the only one who sees the whole picture. Use AI as a tool, as an assistant, as a chef. Don't give AI the key to represent yourself because there's a high risk. of jeopardizing your reputation. And if your reputation is jeopardized, it will take you a lot of time to undo this. Prevention is a lot easier than cure.
Okay, Daniel, here is my final question for you. Can you tell us the biggest LinkedIn mistake you see entrepreneurs and business owners making today?
A recent mistake is because LinkedIn has introduced an AI algorithm that is looking to see, okay, who is Darlington and who is his audience and what content does he serve. Many people have disconnected from their network because they're no longer the audience they want to serve. In other words, I would have 20,000 connections, and I now only sell retreats to ladies over 50, then I would disconnect from guys that I worked with in my previous job. I think that's a mistake because your network stays with you even when you pivot. People who work with you after this year and after your current job, they will still be able to help you. So again, networking is responsible for probably 90% of my revenues. Most of the business I conduct is based on referrals. And someone who is referred to you, they're likelier to work with you, they're less price sensitive, they may stay with you longer, they may send other business your way. The only people who can refer business to you who should know you well enough to do that because they're putting their name on the line. So the single question you need to ask yourself when connecting or disconnecting is about the quality of your relationship. If the relationship is good, then you need to stay in touch with that person. And if the relationship is not good, why did you connect on LinkedIn in the first place?
All right, Daniel, thank you for sharing your insights on how entrepreneurs and creators can use LinkedIn more strategically. In a world where many people chase followers, trends, and visibility, your message reminds us that the goal should always be building real relationships and creating meaningful business opportunities. So, for those who would like to learn more about your work and your book, Build a LinkedIn Profile for Business Success, how can they do that?
Thank you very much, Darlington. The place to go is danielalfon.com, and that's Daniel and then ALFON. You can book a one-on-one. You can download guides. There is an email, a LinkedIn tip I send once a month. Please check it out.
All right, once again, thank you so much. Thank you to all my listeners for taking out your time to be here once again. You guys are the reason why we were able to do this always. And Daniel, thank you so much for coming to Control or Be Controlled. And do have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you, and good luck with Control Be Controlled, a great title.
All right, thank you so much. I get that a lot. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.